Good evening. Welcome to Insights on Leadership in Life. I'm your host, Roberta Pickett, Leadership and Life Coach, and tonight we're going to be talking about healthcare. Healthcare is on everybody's minds. It's obviously a major concern with everything that's going on right now with the implementation of the Affordable Care Act. We care about our quality of care and the cost of care and all the changes that are occurring. So that's what we're going to focus on tonight, talking a little bit about what's going on within the healthcare industry here locally, as well as a little broader perspective, and talk about what leadership is required as a result of that. And is that different than leadership that's required in other industries? If so, why? So with me to talk about that tonight are two perfect guests for this. We have Kim Vagt, who is Director of Ancillary Services at Sutter Amador Hospital here in Jackson, California. Welcome,
Hello.
Kim.
Thank you for inviting me.
You are welcome. And we have Marv Hampton, who is the new chairman for Sutter Amador Hospital Foundation, which is the nonprofit fundraising side of things in the county. So
Right.
Welcome, Marv.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here too, believe me.
Me too.
Yeah. So I think you guys are going to be a perfect complement for this. There's obviously a lot of different sides of healthcare, a lot of different directions we could take, but you two represent a large segment of what goes on here in Amador County. So before we get into some of the topics itself, let's share a little bit more about who you are. So Kim, few minutes about your background. Are you a native here to Amador County? How'd you get here?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
My role is Director of Ancillary Services at
And everybody
Sutter.
goes, what's that mean?
So, yes, and so what that means is Ancillary Services support nursing. So I help to support leadership of diagnostic imaging, clinical laboratory, rehab services, and food and clinical nutrition services. So my clinical background is that I'm a clinical dietitian. I have my master's degree in nutrition. I'm also a certified diabetes educator, and together with Geraldine De Silva, a nurse, we started our outpatient diabetes program about 16 years ago.
That's fabulous.
So we have just transitioned that to Sutter Medical Foundation, which is
really?
It goes from the hospital outpatient to a true outpatient. Sutter Medical Foundation is true outpatient ambulatory. So I have 5 years ago achieved an equivalent of an executive MBA in leadership.
See, I knew you were the perfect person
And
to
Ann
talk to.
Platt, our wonderful role model for me at the hospital, she nominated me to do that through Sutter Health, and
great.
it's such a valuable learning experience. And from there, directing food and nutrition services and diabetes, I began to support the ancillary areas.
Great.
So that is, I'm not native to California. I'm actually from Minnesota, and
I heard a little bit. Did you hear that? Minnesota.
and I'm a converted Californian. I love California. I love where we live up here. My husband and I moved up from Santa Cruz.
Oh, both nice spots.
I know, very nice. And I've been here 20 years, and
great.
5 years in the ancillary role. So I've really learned a lot about the different modalities in radiology and what diagnostic imaging really does to help determine, what's going on with the patient. We've got incredible radiologists who we work with, and our clinical lab. Great leader, Rick Gack, is our director of our clinical lab, and most of them report to regional directors within the Sacramento Sac Sierra region. So I actually represent the operations of those at our senior management team level. So
It's a matrix management type of arrangement.
It is, yeah. And I have direct supervision for food and nutrition services, which eventually will be a regional dotted line with a regional director. And right now we're without a regional director of diagnostic imaging, so I'm helping to support direct leadership with our radiology manager, who's new. His name is Randall Ernest, and phenomenal, leader in diagnostic imaging.
And that's where the 3D mammography equipment that you recently purchased, is under his venue? Okay.
Now, he just came on in November, so he was very, we're getting ready to implement that, actually. I heard that that should be here in about 2 weeks.
Oh, real
soon.
Real soon.
So that's pretty exciting. And we're also, getting a new piece of ultrasound equipment this year, and, hopefully a new CT coming up sometime in the next year as well. We're striving for that. So we only have one CT, and that supports all the patients that come through the emergency department, through
as well as the
inpatients and outpatients.
That's a lot, yeah.
So it gets a lot of use, and so that's very exciting.
Very exciting. Well, speaking of all that equipment, probably some of the way you've gotten some of that is through the foundation,
Absolutely. Right? With capital monies being so low in the last few years, there's no way that, with all the demands of technology and new state-of-the-art equipment, that we would be able to have that kind of capital to purchase those things. And if it really wasn't for our wonderful foundation board and our generous community, it just humbles me to think about the money that people will give to help support our hospital and
the greater community.
Yeah. So
it is a very giving county. I am always amazed at everything that goes on around here.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So good segue then, to you, Marv. Who are you? Where did you come from?
Well, I came from Southern California. My background was in finance, education background in finance. Was down in the Long Beach area, and the last job I had for the final 15 years I was down there, I was the corporate financial controller for Technicolor in Hollywood. And
Interesting.
My wife Sharon and I both had long first marriages, and we actually met at our 25-year high school reunion. And within 6 months we were married, and she moved from Santa Cruz, where she was living, down to Long Beach, and said, I can't live here. And at that time, I had a pretty solid job and a couple of homes, and I was close to my kids, and I wasn't in the mood to move, but she convinced me that there was a better way to live.
The power of a woman.
Yeah, so I said, well, where do you want to go, and what do you want to do? And she said, well, I've always wanted to own a bed and breakfast. Well, I didn't know anything about bed and breakfast, so I said, I'll tell you what, let's study them and do some research on them, and in a year or so, I would consider moving if that's what we want to do. Well, we did a lot of studying, and we came up to the mother lode, and there was one that was for sale, and we didn't buy it, but we drove past a old Victorian farmhouse that was for sale, and I can remember Sharon said, that's it, and we stopped, and very shortly after that we bought it. Took us a year to refurbish it, and we opened it up as the Windrose Inn, and we had that for about we ran it as a business for 7 years, and then closed it down and just lived in the house for 2 years, and then sold it. And
did you sell it as a B&B?
No, and that's why we stayed in it for 2 more years. We didn't have to sell it as a business. We could sell it as a home. But once we opened it up, I needed to do something, go back to work. Sharon was a RN, so she went to work at Sutter, and she worked at Sutter for 25 years. She retired 2 years ago. I had to find something to do, and I couldn't find a job that fit in the county. So I did have a background also in building and remodeling and things like that. So I started my own home inspection business, and I've done that for the last one since 1988, so 26 years.
And now you do a lot of volunteer stuff as well.
I do.
You do.
Can't seem to say
A man
no.
who says yes.
Yes.
Just give us a brief.
Well, I'm took over as chairman of the foundation board at January 1st. Dave Carlson was our former chairman. Been on the foundation board for 4 years. There currently are 17 of us on the board. This year, I'm president of Rotary, Jackson Rotary.
Yes, you are.
And starting on March 15th, I'm also president of a group called Get Healthy Amador. We'll be doing a countywide program to, help people eat better, exercise better, kind of find a plan that works for them.
And now I understand why you're going to be working a lot with Kim, right?
Right.
Yeah. That's great. And that's starting March 15th?
March 15th, it'll run for 6 months to September 15th. We'll evaluate how it goes. We want to do this every year if it goes well, because there's a real need for people to get healthy.
That's right.
And it's not that hard if you're given guidelines and you do it. Don't do it by yourself. Do it as a group. We want to form groups.
And a step at a time. That's one of
Right.
the things I always remember, just one thing at a time. So this is great. Thank you both for being here. We're going to take a short commercial break and be back in just a few minutes.